100%. You question every last thing they give you. And I went from 249 pounds to about 225, and my blood pressure's been just clockwork the same for the last, 4 or 5 months. And I feel good. I've been tested for that COVID stuff 8 times negative, for the last year. And, so basically, having a heart attack doesn't mean your life's over. It actually means your life begins. And, I'm taking advantage of it right now because you don't know when it'll be your last day. And that's the truth. So take advantage of every single day. Don't waste a day doing nothing. Even if it's just hugging your wife, do something,
Yep.
And I've been married 44 years to my best friend. And we got 2 beautiful daughters, 2 grandkids, and a great-grandchild coming. And I look forward to every day talking to them, interacting with them. And that's the key to surviving all this crap we went through last year. And what's the old saying? Keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. That's part of the business world, but you just go through life. If somebody burns you, you just have to learn from it. If somebody treats you right, you treat them right. And that's all there's to it. And I've helped more homeless people, giving them part-time jobs. You go to Home Depot, pick them up, and go to the extreme of trying to help them, and they don't want the help. And I'll be willing to say, out of 1,000 people I've employed in the last 5 years, 1/10 of 1%, is a success rate, and they still fall off. So it's amazing, But I had a guy here. I even built an apartment for him here at my house, and he was not willing to give up drinking. And he went back to Seattle. Worked for me for almost 9 months. And I could see the problem was one beer, he was just pathetic. And told me he had to change or he had to leave, so he left. So that percentage is very, very, very low on trying to rehab people. And, pay them good money, too, to make sure they have everything they need. So, but that's life in the how do you say, the whole barrel with Mike Orlando.
Now, when you go out racing, Mike, who are your crew members?
Yeah, Randy and James. And Randy's just learning it, but he's a quick learner. Like I said, I taught him to be a carpenter and my foreman. And he's gonna, now that him and his wife like racing, it's hard to find couples that like racing. My wife is just the opposite of me. She understands what I do. She'd rather stay home than go to the races, which, that's fine with me. And I told her, I said, I'd have to give me a young, hot-looking woman to back my car up, though, She's whatever, But each guy that I have on the crew will have his job to do when we get to the track, set up the tools or, get the trailer organized or, like James, part of the social, my social interaction guy. And, we're pretty well self-contained. We can stay at the track with the trailer. I'm actually going to build a little bit more on my trailer. I got another 5 feet I can add to my trailer without having to go buy another one. And be able to have all, restroom facility and shower and all that in the trailer. So, that's the advantage I have. Basically, I can take a trailer and modify it and remodel it to suit my needs when most people, again, have to go out and buy one. So I could take a $5,000 trailer and make it a $20,000 trailer and suit my needs, So I'm glad my dad was a builder all his life, and he taught me the business. at a very young age. And 19, I was back in my own business. So, you know, you save a lot of money all through your lifetime if you do it like we did it, you know. So, but as far as a crew, we got big plans of what we're going to do. And of course, crew guys change and so on and so forth. But I have a pretty good group that I can invite to the track, individuals that can come with me on the weekend. Most are damn good mechanics that can, you know, have been in drag racing and know the aspects of it. So, you know, they come with me. You know, we make a trip somewhere. You know, there's pretty much nothing we can't do on the car. You know, just including changing motors and transmissions and all that stuff. So I plan on carrying a spare engine with me, you know, when I go out of town. So it's just a matter of having everything you need. Kind of like be a top fuel team, but just, you know, a bracket racer, you know. So I'm hoping to run just heads-up classes with the car. And that way we don't have to worry about any indexing, so to speak, you know. I mean, that's the way all racing should be as far as I'm concerned. Just basically just like the funny cars, you know. You don't have to run you know, inside a number. You just had to run your ass off, you know. Best number wins, right?
Yep. Now, do any of your kids or grandkids like drag racing?
My daughters support me with it. I mean, they're wanting to go to the races and you know, that's another thing. Without having a son to nurture or bring up in life, you know, we ended up with just two daughters. And a lot of the good guys have just girls. I mean, Kevin Harvick, the rest of them, you know. And it's just a matter of you make it what it is. They support the car. They you know, they hang around with me, talk with me about it. They'll be going to the races with us, you know, local races and stuff. But, you know, when your kids have their own lives, it's hard to, you know, manipulate them or, you know, get them to, you know, drop what they're doing. You know, my grandson has jiu-jitsu and, you know, softball and all that stuff. So that's another part that kind of hurt you know, a lot of the racing deals is when you're raising children, you have to deal with other social interactions, you know. And whether it's soccer, baseball, basketball, I know it's part of a lot of people's cultures, but, you know, I told my daughter I don't see my grandson playing football because he's a little asthmatic, you know, kind of deal. And I said I wouldn't force him to do it. But, I mean, if he wants to do it, it's up to him. You can't make that decision. A lot of people make their kids go do soccer and baseball and basketball, and the kids don't really care about it, you know?
Right.
They're forced into it.
Yep.
And I'm not going to force my kids to go to the drag races, but if they want to, they're welcome to come, you know?
Yep.
And I've seen a lot of kids that have grown up spiting what they do, and it's terrible, you know? I mean, why would you force a kid to play baseball or basketball? You know, and the culture here in Texas is exactly that. Your kid ain't playing, you know, baseball. What good is he? You know?
Yeah.
Well, I grew up, when I was in high school, I played freshman football, and the coach didn't like Italians, so he put this big old guy, Steve Lipsky, up against me. He was about 250 pounds. I was like 120. And coach told me to take him out. Well, I took the guy out at his knees. Unfortunately, he landed on top of me and bruised all my ribs. And that was, I don't know if you ever had, you know, all your ribs bruised at the same time, but it ain't nothing nice. So that was the last time I played football. And, you know, in the 9th grade, I got smart pretty quick. But I know guys that played football in the same age group that broke their backs, their legs, and they're, you know, today they're limping around like, well, we're all old guys now, but they spent their whole life limping around because of egotistic, you know, moments of the parents wanting them to play that kind of, that kind of sport. You know,
right.
If you got a 300-pound kid, he ought to play football. If you got a 150-pound kid, you kind of question that against a 300-pound guy. You know.
Yep.
So, but I've never forced my kids to do anything they never want to do. And so far, everything I've asked them to do, they've done. So it's pretty cool.
So what are your favorite tracks to race on?
Well, I mean, I've raced down in Bradenton, Florida, Lakeland, Florida. It's kind of a toss-up. Every track is good. It has its own character. Probably the most I raced at was Lakeland, Florida, back in the 80s. And, the late 70s, early 80s. And it was a blast. I used to run at the old Houston drag strip off of 45. I mean, it's long gone. The Gay family used to own that. And guys like Bob Carpenter with the Hodges and Carpenter Buccaneer funny car. They bought it from Billy Myers. It was in fact the car that resembled Billy Myers' car at the Chaos, the Mustang, was basically the same style car that Billy Myers sold to Bob Carpenter back in the 70s. Late 70s. And we had a lot of guys here in Galveston: Joe Arena, Billy Bunch, Bob Carpenter, Bobby Hodges. The list is unbelievable. The people here, they're all in the funny cars and top fuel cars. I mean, even here, Mitch King was there testing to recertify his license for top fuel and altered. He lives here in Galveston. So there's a big family. I go through a bunch of names and just somebody to know them somewhere. Marshall Pisces, Joe Arena, Albie Bannon. There was an abundance in the 70s of top fuel cars right here on this island. So I moved from an island where I learned how to, learn the business of racing, and I moved to another island that has a history of racing. And we got stories of Billy Bunch and Hodges making passes down the seawall in their funny cars. That's imagine that. Is that not an awesome sight to see a funny car making a pass down your main road that's, aligned with the ocean or the Gulf?
Yeah.
At night. I mean, just imagine that. You just sitting there on a bench watching a damn funny car make a pass. I would have loved to have been there,
Oh, yeah.
And, a friend of mine, Charles Stout, he was part of the ownership of the Hodges and Carpenter deal. And Bob Carpenter owned Trans-King Transmissions at the time. And when I was building my stuff, Bob Carpenter came by my place all the time. And he had the lathes, everything I needed at his shop. I'm over there at my shop cutting a dry shaft for my stadium truck. I ran stadium trucks too with the monster truck rallies. And he's on the other end of the dry shaft spinning it while I'm welding it. I mean, how cool could that be? This guy piloted a funny car. He's in my shop doing the same thing with Frankie Taylor. He was in my shop a week ago screwing around with that barrel valve, and he said, I ain't never seen nothing like this. I said, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to get the right stuff. I said, whatever you have on your car is what I'm going to put on my car. So I have the Frankie Taylor available to go to the track with me, the fastest pro mod guy in the country. And is that not cool?
That's awesome.
It don't get better than that, I mean, that's probably the Funny Car Chaos weekend overall was not a Cinderella story, but it was like going to Disney World and getting everything for free. How's that sound?
That sounds.
You know, anything you looked at and talked to, it was there. You didn't have to pay admission. I mean, you know, outside the pit pass and stuff, but you didn't have to have a limited access to anybody. It's just awesome. And it hadn't been like, you know, people are hungry for that now. Like I say, between drag racing and this chaos deal, I think it's twice the show that NHRA could put out. Because NHRA is like a clown show. They got all the carnival rides for all the people. You know, whether you're getting in a Challenger and trying to, you know, cut the best light or whatever case. I'm not into all that stuff. I'm into the camaraderie and the, you know, being able to take a picture with the driver and so on and so forth. You know, and you know, say, hey, how you doing? And how's your son doing? You know, I mean, it's really something to know you have a relationship with drivers year after year. You know, I mean, I walked by with Mike Dunn one day, and that's back when he had the Yankees car, and he just become an announcer. You know, or you know, what do you call I guess announcer. And we're walking, and nobody else recognized him. He's walking. Say, hey, Mike, how you doing? Hey, Mike, how you doing? You know, I mean, it don't get better than that. You know, and this chaos deal is even better because you get to know the drivers, all the drivers, and I think it's a fantastic deal. I just wish there was, you know, you can do too much of something and water it down. But I think what Chris come up with this chaos, you know, deal is an excellent combination. And like I say, a little bit of entertainment, having the jet car and all that stuff is pretty cool too, you know.
Yeah,
so, I mean,
the jet car,
the
jet car versus the diesel dragster.
Yeah, I mean it's amazing. I never understood somebody wanted to do a diesel dragster, but nonetheless, I mean, if it can turn the numbers, that's great. But the jet car, I mean, I was there when the first jet Kenworth made a pass at Lakeland, Florida in 76 or 75, and it was an awesome spectacle. And they were limited how fast they could run back then. I mean, this thing had, you know, 2 jet engines on the back of it. It was unbelievable. And, you know, if you go see one time, you remember it the rest of your life. You know, and if you don't remember something like that the rest of your life, you ain't alive. Because just the mechanical aspect of it alone is unbelievable. You know, I've watched, you know, the hydroplane racing in Florida. You know, the big stuff. You know, like Miss Budweiser and stuff.
Yeah.
And I've watched them compete in Lakeland, Florida. And you know, Bernie Little lived down the street from me. So everywhere I've been in my lifetime, somebody of notoriety that is in the racing world was pretty close to me. The only thing was, every time I moved, some drag strip would move away, you know, or close down. And like I said, if I go to Florida, I'll probably race about 5 different venues while I'm there. You know, go to Gainesville and Bradenton and Orlando and so on. And I got friends in Florida. You know, we can pick up crew guys there if I need them. You know, and whether I go up to North Carolina or Massachusetts, it doesn't matter. That's what my plan is in the next couple of years, is just to load up for 3, 4, 5 day, you know, weekends, so to speak. Hopefully I can do that financially. And I don't have any sponsors on the car but myself, so I don't have to worry about commitments on that part, but I will. Anybody wants to sponsor the car, as long as they got a Keith Black engine, I'm all good. Yeah, I don't need nothing else but that Keith Black, you know. I missed out on buying one up in Nebraska. I asked the guy to send me pictures, and the next day he said it already sold, you know, and it was not a bad deal to come off a quarter tractor, you know, and he just had it freshened up. It's just, as soon as they post them, they're gone. So my next step, if I can't get one like that way, I'll buy a brand new block and, start buying the pieces. Because there's plenty of top fuel stuff out there and alcohol stuff that can be handed down to me, cranks and cams and all that stuff, and still put a motor together for about 10 grand or something like that, So that's all it takes is money or a will and a way. How's that sound?
That sounds good, Mike. So now, if people want to follow you and see where you're going to be running at, what's the best way for people to follow you?
I hadn't set up a deal for the car yet, but they can go to Mike Orlando at Facebook and just friend me or follow my deal, and I'll post where I'm going, when I'm going. Like I said, just the weekend I must have friended probably 250 people requesting friend requests, and you have to go through and make sure they're not how you say weird people.
Right.
Got a few hot looking chicks wanted to friend me that had no friends, but I had to kind of delete them. But,
yeah.
They were a little too hot for the type of posting we got. So, but that's it. Just go to Mike Orlando on Facebook, and you can pretty much follow everything I do with the car. Right down to posting buying that trans brake. I got it today, and the Cone company they actually put the name on the trans brake, milled in the trans brake. So I guess they'll be responsible for it working. So you get a lifetime guarantee on it. So can't ask for better than that, can you?
Nope.
And the guy at PTC Converters, Kenny, he got the pictures of the car, and he says, "Man, that's one wild piece you got there." I said, "Well, your converter better be able to stand up to what I'm going to do to it." He said, "Oh, don't worry, we'll take care of you." He built me a billet case spragless converter, and it should be ready by another week or so. But he's the Mopar guru over there, and so it's almost like I already know him. I've only had 3 phone calls with him, and that's the kind of person I am. I try to interact with everybody when it comes to what we do. But like I say, the fan base is unbelievable. When you go to the track and just it's interesting when you have top fuel teams come to your pit. That amazed me. And all the guys are getting out, walking around the car, looking underneath the car, these guys get the baddest cars on the planet, and they're coming to see my car, which was cool, man. It just don't get better than that. I just don't know how to top it. The only thing I can do is top it and make some good passes with the car, and keep it where I'm not worried. I'm a tracker. I ain't worried about hitting the wall. For some reason, the drag racing mentality is if you hit the wall, you got to get in the ambulance. I've been on fire on my roof, taking out light poles in my dirt track car. So, bumping the wall at 120 miles is not that big a deal, But as far as we got videos of me going outside the fence at a dirt track and hitting the light pole and taking the lights out, laying on the roof, catching on fire. And the whole video took 28 seconds from the start of the wreck, from me walking back out on the track, and the power was cut off from the poles. I climbed over the pole, walked back on the track. By the time I walked around the ambulance, looking back at my car, the power came back on. So if anybody out there don't believe in God, guess what? I do. Because the time element of 28 seconds to get yourself out of a car that you just wrecked and walk around and see the electricity come back on is a miracle by itself. And that night, my wife was 2,400 miles away. And so I called her the next day. I had belt bruises down my chest. That's how hard I hit the wall. And have you ever seen anybody with belt bruises?
No.
Down I had belt bruises down my chest, all the way from above my belly button over my shoulders.
Wow.
That's how hard I hit the wall. And upside down on fire, I looked at the fire. The fire's going away from me. I mean, literally ripped a motor mount out of the side of the block and the fuel pump. And I crawled out the passenger window. It's something I practiced in the shop. As I said, I built my own cars. And the driver's box stayed intact. Schedule 40 Nerf bars were pinched shut, like somebody put in the jaws of life. It's all hard to hit. And I still walked away. And from that night on, I know of 4 drivers that quit racing after seeing my wreck. And the only thing I wanted to do is get my car home and get it ready for the next weekend. And I didn't realize I had a brain bruise. You know, I bruised my brain. I hit so hard. And so I took a couple weeks, and we went back out racing about 3 weeks later. And, you know, I rebuilt the car. And, you know, everybody said, man, there's no way, you know. But, of course, I was a little bit younger then. I took that hit now, I probably wouldn't be as lucky. But, you know, it is what it is. You either have the passion for the sport or you don't. And the passion includes your family, everybody, you know. And when people ask you about your car, that means you've done something. You know, about how's your car doing, what's going on. Those are people you want to surround yourself with. Not the negative Nellies. I don't hang around bars. You know, I'm not a good dancer, so I don't go dancing very much. I want to know one thing: come home, you know, enjoy my family and work on my car. And I got a big house. I mean, same thing with my house. It started out as a $24,000 piece of crap, and it's, you know, it's ridiculously appraised now. But it's all sweat equity. Everything I do is sweat equity. You know, you make it what it is. You either keep junk all your life or make it better.
Yep.
So anyway, I appreciate the interview.
No problem.
Any more questions? Do you have any more questions?
After all these years, what still keeps the passion going for drag racing?
Well, again, you see guys like Billy Nave still doing it 50 years later. You see guys that are starting out, and I'll walk up to anybody having a problem with their car, and I'll work on their carburetor, or I'll work, you know, on helping them with the car, you know. And I actually had a drag racer one time convert to dirt tracking, and he was about 23 years old. His name was Sorrels. And anyway, I started giving him advice on the dirt track car, and you see, he loved it. I mean, he loved drag racing too, but he loved the dirt track. It was different. You know, he didn't sit around the pits all day and you know, wait to make it run. And so I got a phone call one day. It was his mother, and said that they found him laying underneath his car, and he had aneurysms in his stomach. And the aneurysms had broke, and he bled out underneath his car.
Wow.
Working on doing what he wanted to do. And, you know, it's such a mixed emotion. I've lost some friends in many different aspects, but this young kid, you know, inspired me to keep on doing what I do, you know, because he had the passion. It was the passion that I handed to him. And so, you know, again, you know, the passion is the whole thing. Period. You either love it or you don't. I mean, you're going to have bad days. I had a bad weekend, but I made it into something that was good. You know? You can't cry about something you can't fix. There, you know? You can kick your ass when you go home because you didn't test it the way it should have been tested. And that's what I did because my converter guy wasted my time. But at least I know what to do the next time. You're never too old to learn something, right?
Right.
So the best thing to do is you make sure you have control of everything you do, and you can't leave it in the hands of somebody else. So I mean that's why I've done it. As I said, I've probably repeated that 2-3 times already. But if you don't manage every aspect of what you do, you're going to come up short. You're counting on somebody else. So that's the biggest thing I can leave behind with the passion part is, I probably, after having my heart attack, the only thing that kept me going is my wife and my race car. Even just going out there and looking at the car and sitting in the car thinking, that's what gave me the motivation to start moving forward after. And like I said, a lot of guys think once they have a heart attack, it's over. And it ain't over till they put you in the box. But if you don't help yourself get better, guess what? It's over. You just have to wait for that particular day that your number comes up. And like I say, the car, it's kind of like Days of Thunder when what's his name was talking to the car. Have you seen that part of Days of Thunder?
The Tom Cruise?
Not Tom Cruise, but his crew chief was in that holy barn, and he's talking to God. I'm going to give you this. I'm going to shave you over here. I'm going to massage you here. Yeah. I've done the same thing. You literally, your car becomes part of you. And, when I was shaping the spoiler on the roof, it's got a Gremlin spoiler is about 1 inch tall. Mine's almost 7 inches tall. That mimics the same spoiler. When I'm shaping them fenders and you're looking at the pictures and shaping the fenders and you didn't get it just right, you had to reshape them again. The chin spoiler on the front, it had to be just right to look error correct. It's all the passion, period. And no matter what it is, loving a woman or loving a car, I mean, it's almost the same thing. Only thing is the car doesn't argue back at you. And the thing is, the car will give you just as hard a time sometimes, but it can't talk back to you. That's the only difference between the two. I know that sounds crazy sometimes, but, I know a lot of guys that got involved with women and they quit racing. It was a foolish thing to do. No, it was part of their life, and that part of their life was taken away from them. So that's quite the deal out there.
Yep.
You got to have a balance between both. I mean, every waking day, you like I said, I've been married 44 years, going on 45 years, and I'm 62 years old, so I've been married most of my life. And, we've had our differences, but the old saying is, Billy Bunch told me one time, he says, his wife asked him about how much you spending on race car parts. And he says, you just tell me how many hutches you want in the living room, in the dining room, and don't worry about my race parts. Well, I heard that story probably 25 years ago. And about 5 years ago, I had that same conversation with my wife. She says, how much do you spend on that? I said, don't worry about it. You need a new couch, you let me know. You need a new dining room set, let me know. Don't ever ask me about my parts again. It's kind of like the Godfather thing, I'm only going to tell you about my business one time. And so far, so good, She even agreed to the Keith Black engine, so, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a milestone, actually, And she says, that's an awful lot of money. You better get saving. I said, well, I am. Trust me. But, some women get set in their ways. And, again, last year was like a new revival for us. I'm by no means a holy roller guy. but I believe in my faith and my, God and everything. And it's just that you just have to take a day at a time. And, if a situation comes up, deal with it. When we just got married, the first rules were that we would not ever argue about money. And the second rule was never go to bed without settling an argument. And we've used that for 44 years, and it's worked pretty good. And that way you don't have any animosities when you wake up in the morning by not settling an argument the night before. And arguments can vary based on, whether you're going to go to a birthday party. I miss most of my kids' birthday parties all my life. So if you had it on Sunday, I'd go to it, but if you have it on Saturday, I can't, And that was probably the only rival thing that had anything to do with anything in life. And as I spoke about the kids' baseball, basketball, and all that stuff, that is a rival thing to your kids' sports is racing. Because you have to be in two places at the same time or one place. So, we fortunately had girls, and our girls weren't no good at band instruments. And one played volleyball, and that didn't last too long until she twisted an ankle. So they didn't promote them to go into too many sports. Call it selfish, but at the same time, as I mentioned before, sometimes kids don't want to do it. They do it because the parents want them to do it. And I realized right away that my wife was listening to some of her friends, and that's why my daughters were trying to get into the sports. And I said, well, you need to let them make their decision, Ask them. Don't be afraid to ask your kids if they really want to do it. Because they may have a passion, of something different, whether it's artwork or, anything. You don't have to be an athlete to survive in this world. You just have to do something, period. And sitting there on a keyboard or one of them iPads and all that stuff ain't the way to go for a child. I believe in putting a wrench in my grandson's hand every time he comes here. I make him shut the TV off. He likes watching all them, weird cartoon shows. I make him watch Bugs Bunny and the Roadrunner,
Yeah.
The culture, the cultural roots of cartoons is, Bugs Bunny, Roadrunner. He watches the Three Stooges with me and laughs his ass off. And he understands that they're not really hitting each other with real hammers, or sawing their head. So we've instilled that in him too, to know the difference between real and fake. And so it's a pretty cool deal, So we try to be culturally rounded every which way you go,
Yep.
And that's a big missing deal in this country today. Is, like I said, when I was 5 years old, I could walk across town and knew half the people in the town at 5 years old, And I'd walk from my mom, our house to my grandmother's house, then to my other grandmother's house, and, then I'd walk back home. It's like, 2-mile walk. 5-year-old, Imagine doing that today. You couldn't walk a block in a secured neighborhood without something crazy going on.
Right.
So, that's all the grassroots culture. You still install the mentality in your kids, versus don't do this and don't do that. If you're going to do this, you got to do it this way, And that's the problem with a lot of people today. They expect their children to learn the stuff by themselves, and they don't, because the parents don't know no different, And that's a sad deal today. We could create another good culture with guys like Ed Roth and the rest of them that, you see Ian on building custom cars on TV. That's a lost culture, and that kind of stuff will never be able to be replicated. I mean, except you're using a computer, you know. But it's amazing that not too many people have that kind of culture. And my dad was not into cars himself, so I had to create my own deal. Never had any interest in my cars, period. Of course, he's fixing to turn 91 years old, and now he has an interest in my car. Yeah, yeah, it's funny, but you know, sad because he didn't enjoy what I enjoyed all them years.
Yeah.
I mean, the dirt track camaraderie is unbelievable. You know, I mean, we're vicious, you know, adversaries on the track, and we'll help each other on, you know, in the pits, you know. And we've had a lot of rivalries in dirt tracks through the years. And, you know, it's kind of like preparing for a football game and getting in the heads of the drivers. That's what I was best at. I'd get up in their heads and drive them up. I know there's guys that are going to die, and the last thing they're going to see is OCF. And Orlando's Construction and Fabrication. One year I sponsored 9 cars, dirt track cars, and it was hilarious. I mean, the drivers, it was all OCF shirts, and it drove the track owner crazy. And some of them guys are going to die remembering nothing but seeing the OCF. I had this guy, David Kahanic, drove for me, and he was a badass sprint car driver. And I put him in a dirt late model car. We got it. A friend of mine, Earl Watley, did the chassis work, and all good people. And David could wheel a car, and we went to a place that the track champion never lost a race the whole season at his track, and we like wiped the floors with him, and won the Halloween Havoc race at his track with a lesser motor, and it drove them nuts. They thought we were cheating because we had the smaller motor. I said, well, maybe you guys were the ones that were cheating all year, you know. We came plastered them, and to this day, they still haven't forgotten they lost that race. You know, it's pretty cool. I got the trophy, you know.
Yeah.
And every trophy I have on the shelf is well earned, you know, as far as, you know, competing. And I ran mud drags down in Van Vleck. You know, when you're running against a guy that's been doing it for 10 years and you go on your 4th or 5th race and lose by 2/10,000ths of a second to a guy that's been doing it with a big block, and I'm running a small block Dodge, and, you know, I felt pretty good that I lost by that little, you know.
Now, Mike, and, we got about 2 minutes left.
Okay. So anyway, you have any more questions?
No, I'm good. You want to say any final thoughts?
Yeah, just grab everybody out there, grab yourself by the nuts and do what you need to do in life. You know, don't wait for somebody else. I mean, passion is what it is. And if you don't have it, don't worry about going racing, you know, because you have to have all the mental support you can have for yourself, let alone everybody around you. Because if you give out a negative vibe to people, it's going to resonate and come back to you. So just keep a positive attitude and go kick somebody's ass. I mean, that's all there is to it, you know.
Well, I want to thank you very much for taking time to do this interview, Mike.
I appreciate it, and good luck, and hope to see you out there on one of the tracks here in the near future.
All right, you have a great... Go ahead.
So don't worry. All you have to do is look for the animal, and you know who it belongs to.
Yeah, you can't miss that lime green car.
Yeah. Yes, sir. I appreciate the interview.
Oh, you're welcome. You have a great night, Mike.
Thank you.
And best of luck with the rest of the season racing.
All right, cool. Thank you.
All right, you have a good night. Bye.